We all saw the Trump and Elon debate on Twitter. Let's go over the two amazing trade opportunities that came out of it on Bitcoin. I also want to go over the week ahead. We have a big week with CPI and kind of all this trade news coming up. So stay tuned for that as well. So the first trade I want to go over is going to be the kind of weekly low break that we had and the retest. So what we had kind of setting up last week was an inside week, right? So we were trading inside the previous candle completely, and it really looked like not much was going on. Volatility was really muted. It kind of looked like, hey, if we have no big news, we might just kind of end the week trading inside the range. Now, some context though coming out of it, right? We have this obvious SR level here. I mean, literally a 5-year-old could draw this, right? Support, support, support. It breaks. It turns into resistance. So we are coming off of that, right? So you had reasons to be bearish. We also got to have these untested lows that were local. You know, they kind of built up on the long side, and then we came up and traded into resistance. So you have some context kind of coming into this trade. So then we start getting the news on Twitter. And what kind of was I thinking at the time? Well, you know, it doesn't really matter. Is it bearish or bullish long term? You know, immediate term, it's probably bearish, just, you know, because you don't want them kind of airing the stuff out on the timeline. But it doesn't really matter, right? The news is coming out and it's bearish. That's what we're most interested in. And we get the low break here. If we zoom down to the 30-minute, you guys can see kind of what happened. So we came down here, we broke the weekly low that we had. And normally on a trade like this, you might look for kind of a sweep and then acceptance above again to kind of get long on a mean reversion trade. But when you get the news like this, some bearish news coming out, I'm actually looking for the short. So we came out, there's basically no trade here, no trade even on the probe, right? I don't want to really get in until we get that retest. We come up here. I actually put the trade on here. You know, we took some heat, but that's expected, right? The market's not going to be perfect, but it was very little for how much reward we're looking for. So I'm looking to get short off the news, off the range break, right? There's a bunch of positioning that built up over this range. It's going to basically be closed out if we start probing lower. So you also have that going for you. Another kind of confluence you had was all these untested kind of just positioning here. Like literally just all this, right? All these three kind of higher lows that we had. What'll happen is positioning will build up, you know, stops underneath these, and they normally get ran. So anyways, that's kind of the big context, right? So we break out of this consolidation. We have the bad news. It was an inside week setting up that failed. And now we're looking for the short on the backside retest of this level. This was textbook. Normally it's not going to be this clean, right? Normally it's going to, you know, come down and then you're like, well, is it going to be mean reversion? You know, maybe then we come up and we chop here and then maybe we trade, you know, normally not this clean, but it was. Luckily on this trade, we came up, we retested it, and then we got the drive lower. Where was I targeting? Again, I at least want to see this swing low kind of swept. That was at least my target. And I mean, it ended up working out. Luckily, it was extremely fast drive too. So you were kind of in profit pretty fast, which was nice. So that was kind of your take profit. I mean, you can kind of hold out. I mean, it's like this big kind of daily gap, right? Normally talk about single prints in a TPO, but really this whole zone is kind of your long zone, right? But what I was looking at, to be honest with you guys, if you go down to the 4-hour here, right? We have this gap in the 4-hour, and then if you look on the TPO chart, it also lines up with these single prints. So did it really test the singles? No. I mean, not technically. I guess I hit the top of them barely. You know, is it super important that it fills it all out when they're that old? Not really. That's just kind of the inefficiency that I was looking for to long actually. So, okay, so we trade down here. I took profits on that trade, and then we had the long setup. So again, we had a extreme move down on news that's not really bearish, right? Did anything really change in the macro environment? Not really. It wasn't like a bad CPI print or something that's actually substantial, in my opinion, anyways. So, anyways, we came down here, and then we had this obvious, or I'm not going to say obvious, but we had this SR flip, right? So we built up this little consolidation down here, and then we broke up and we were holding the backside of it. And that's kind of where you want to get long. I didn't hold this one crazy. I was basically targeting the single prints, but I was a little bit worried when I was in the trade that, maybe this underside could fail again. And I wasn't really expecting this kind of turbo bid. So if I remember, I got out around here. Oops. So I got in, right? I got in, it wasn't perfect, kind of on this backside retest. I took some heat on the second test. My stop was basically the low. It was something like this. The long was like this. I think my entry was something like here. My stop was here. And then I was basically targeting this kind of consolidation, little just range here. And I was aware that it could go a lot higher, but I just didn't want to risk, it going up. I think this was when I was sleeping too. I don't want to risk it going up and then I'm like, it's all the way down when I wake back up. So I just set a static take profit at this little consolidation. It was like this backside retest kind of thing I was worried about. But those were the two trades I think you could have taken off that news. So I hope that helped you guys if you were wondering kind of how I was positioned into it. And then to be honest with you guys, recently I took a short. I was thinking, both of these moves were pretty inefficient. I was thinking we were going to kind of fill this zone out more, and I got stopped out. I got a good entry somewhere around here. We traded back up into kind of the POC of the range. And then I think it was here actually. We traded down. This was right into the weekend, and we traded back up, and I just got out. So those are my kind of three recent trades. But let's go over now what I'm looking at next week. So what I'm looking at next week primarily is going to be the... All right, now let's go over what I'm looking at next week. We do have, I think, some talks on Monday with the trade talks. I mean, the most important things are going to be CPI. We have I think the Apple event is this week, and then we have PPI and then consumer sentiment. So a kind of a loaded week on the data front. I think CPI is very important to see how tariffs are impacting the economy. Whether it's too early for that, I guess we'll see. But I think that's kind of what I'll be looking at. Again, I'm not a macro guy. I'm just looking at how it impacts the market. So let's go over Bitcoin. First things first, obvious SR level here, kind of 1066. If we get over this, I'm not going to be leaning bearish until the market gives me a reason to. If we come down in the beginning of the week and then trade above it, guys, I'm bullish. I'm going to talk about, how I think this zone kind of needs to be filled out, but I'm not going to get caught short, letting my bias get in the way, say the least. So if we just look at the weekly candle, it looks pretty inefficient, right? And inefficient just means that it's a massive wick, so the market's kind of undecided. The daily, it doesn't look as bad, but I do want to just look at the market structure down here. Did it really build a base? Is there a lot of two-way trade? No. Basically what we did, we had an imbalance move down, which was immediately followed by just like a TWAP up, it almost looked like. So I do think, who knows, but I do think we trade lower and can at least kind of fill out this wick somewhat. And is that maybe just to, let me show you on exo charts. Is this maybe just to the range low of like 103.8 around there? Maybe. But here's our kind of the levels I'm looking at. Here's how I'm getting them. I gotta find the stupid tool. Okay, so all right, so we're looking at the volume profile. Again, normally I would use TPO, but this is just an easy way to see it on here that I've been using recently. So we have this consolidation, right? This range up here. Those are the levels I'm marking out. Do I think we probably fill this out? Maybe. I mean, 60-40, I think we fill out the wick. 40%, maybe we just blow up above here and start trading higher. Anyways, these are my levels basically for the range. So if we get near the range high, I'm going to start being bearish. If we get near the range low, I'll start being bullish. Keeping in mind that, we have this massive weekly wick that I think does get filled out. If we do fill it out to the downside, maybe 103.8 around here is the low. If it's not, and this is the low, I would actually be interested in getting in around 101.5, kind of this last structure, even 101 down here, if we trade down there. If we don't, it's not the end of the world, but these are kind of the levels immediately that I'm watching to get involved. Beyond intraday trading, just beyond intraday trading, that doesn't really matter. So yeah, those are the levels I'm watching. I think it's important to watch how the market reacts to CPI. And I think it's important to watch this 106 level. Again, don't get caught with your pants down. If we get over 106.6 and we're looking good, I think the highs are going to come again. If we don't, maybe we just, if you guys look at the volume up here, that was a wrong. Maybe we just traded like the POC, like 108.93. But regardless, we have a range up here. We have a range lower. If we get above the range low, look for the other side of the range. That's at least like 110. That's honestly where I would look for. So yeah, that's kind of my areas to trade. More cautious while we're in the range. I'm not going to be super bearish if we come back down near the lows. I'll actually probably be looking to buy more than anything. And I'm definitely not being bearish if we get above this kind of white box here. That's, if we get above there and we develop some structure, I'm going to probably get long and at least target that range high. And then hopefully we get the high break. So that's kind of my plan going into next week. If you guys have any questions about the trades or about my outlook, just let me know.